All right. Can everyone hear me? Seems like it. Cool. So I'm going to go ahead and get started here. Same way we always start. We are going to share our screen because that's how we work. Hey, that's me. You can see me? Cool. Welcome back. It's been a long week, but we're here and we are back to learn a little bit more about technology and how grad students or right undergrad students or teachers can use some of the technology we've been diving into to supercharge either their productivity or their workflows. And so today, our focus is actually going to be on a new technology, which I mentioned in previous streams. This is going to be with Notion, and it's actually a software and platform. I believe it's notion.so, but let's just type it in. Yeah, notion.so. Essentially, what it is, it's a note taker, it's a productivity app, but it does a little bit of everything. So it's kind of got your Evernote spin, it's got your project management spin, it's got your to do list, it's got your calendars, it's got a little bit of everything. But primarily, I use it as a note taker, and so this is my Notion, and it may look a little confusing, but essentially what you can think of this as this is a database, but it's a database sort of like a binder with tabs. And so in this particular binder, I have all of my school notes starting from last year. And you can basically open up the notes you were taking and you can add to it or you can review it. But they're all kept in this sort of binder tab here. I call it my baby doctor notes. And it's a good way to just organize it, have everything accessible in one place. It's got a lot of cool features once you get into it. You can tag things, you can organize it by classes, you can select what type of class it was. You can add additional properties. You can use AI to summarize it. You can add people's names and phone numbers. It's pretty robust in terms of what it can do and what it connects with. Your Gmail, ChatGPT. At this point, it is get connected or get lost because people like to be able to connect their different softwares because there's a myriad of them. And being able to connect it and improve your workflow is huge right now, especially with the way technology is rolling out. And so what we're going to do today, sorry, I get ahead of myself. That's Notion. It's my note taker. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to use Notion just a little bit, just so I can show you some of the possibilities as a note taker or sort of a research assistant. But I'm also going to double down and throw some Chat GPT 4 in there because you know how we do here. I love learning a little bit about GPT automations, custom GPTs. So we're actually going to start in ChatGPT and then work with Notion to help us take some notes, help us launch our research, and keep all the new information we get into one place. And so that's what we're going to do right now. And so over here, yeah, we did Notion. That's good. Tables and GPT, that's next. Okay. So for an example for today, we're going to use the I'm sorry, social sustainability development goals, the SDGs. We're going to talk about the SDGs a little bit as sort of an example research prompt. And we're going to go into it, and I'm just going to talk through some of the methods and processes I go through using ChatGPT. So, if you're not familiar, the social development goals are target goals that the UNN participating members, which is all of them except I think four or five in the world, their sustainability targets. So whether that's fighting poverty, um, fighting climate change, um, you know, uh, smart urbanization, all these sort of uh, green processes that we're putting into place to help make this world more equal, more sustainable, and obviously environmentally more stable. So that's a little background on the SDGs there. And so there's 17 SDGs. So let's say I'm getting into this and I need to start wrapping my head around what the heck global sustainability even means. And so The first thing I'm going to do is I'm thinking of approaching it from an SDG standpoint. Like, what are the SDGs? So let's just start there and just ask ChatGPT, what are the 17 SDGs? And so there's 17 of them. And so ChatGPT is just giving us a very short summary, but it is listing all of the SDGs out. It looks like 15, 16, 17. Cool. So there's 17 SDGs that we've all agreed on globally. And let's just get some background on this. So this is useful, but let's say, what are the 17 SDGs? But please put them in table format. The first column will have the SDG number and title, and the second column will have a brief description. So all I really asked it to do is the same thing, but to put it in table format, and I'll show you why that's cool. So this is pretty impressive. The fact is, I just unpolitely asked it to do something for me, and it did exactly what I said, and it even formatted it for me. I mean, that's great. Okay, so give us the same information. It put the column information and the description information on the right columns. So all I'm going to do is copy this, and I'm actually going to go into my Notion, and I'm going to create a new note, and we'll call this SDGs information. Okay, and then class, this will be for leadership. What type? This is for reading. And we'll go back down here, and I'm going to ask it to insert a table, which you can do. So I created a table, and I'm literally just going to copy and paste that table into Notion, which is cool. Great. I took it from ChatGPT, took it to Notion. That's not super novel. A lot of programs will allow you to do this, and I'm going to take it one step further though. And so in Notion, and I just created a header for those who are following my mouse. What we can do is we can turn this into a database. And so what that means is sort of like I have a binder here of all of my notes. If I go into this specific note, I'm going to create the SDGs as its own separate binder, essentially. And so I click in here, and I'm going to say turn into database. And it took that table and turned it into its own database. So now inside of this note, I now have a database for each SDG. So if I wanted to start taking notes on number 1, no poverty, it even includes the brief description and poverty in all of its forms anywhere. So that's pretty neat. So now I've got a binder inside of a binder, and I have a database on the SDGs. So if I was researching the SDGs, I might start putting this information into each specific bucket. But why get ahead of ourselves there? And let's just ask ChatGPT. Let's just get it to provide a summary. So we have sort of an abstract for each one of our notes. And so we'll say, please summarize SDG 1 in 4 sentences. And that way we can just take this, place it in our new database, so we don't have to go and check or get a definition every time. And so it is a little copy and paste, but we got this. And so now we kind of have a launching point for each one of these. And so to speed it up, rather than retyping this, we're going to go back to ChatGPT. Here's another thing we can do. We can edit. We're going to edit this question, and we're just going to replace the 1 with a 2. So it says, please summarize SDG 2 in 4 sentences. Save, submit, and it gives you a new answer. And it's great because if you click on the arrow here, It'll go to the first one. It'll go to the second one. You can edit again. We'll put in SDG3, save and submit, and you can essentially repeat that. So as we are waiting for this definition, we'll scroll back to our second one. We'll copy. Come over here, open up Zero Hunger. Number 2, drop that in. Good, we got 1, we got 2. Now we can go to 3. Let's see what 3 is at. SDGs, perfect. Here, back here, and we're in. Okay. And that's pretty much all I wanted to show you today. So 2 things. Actually, we're gonna do one more thing while we're here, because I said I would talk about custom GPTs. So I found a cool custom GPT. It's called Whimsical Diagrams, and it will create charts, diagrams, depending whether you give it data, you give it information. But what I could say to it, and so you use the @ symbol, and it will pull up the custom GPTs I use. So we'll have whimsical diagrams in it, and it says it explains and visualizes concepts with flowcharts, mind maps, and something with sequence. But we're going to @ symbol at whimsical. It's not popping up. At whimsical. There we go. At whimsical diagrams. So now it says I'm talking to whimsical diagrams. Use the previous table and make it a mind map. And I don't see a lot of utility in this specific mind map because it pretty much already gave it to me in bullet point form. But for those of you who might have, let's say, a lot of information in an article and you want to see it visualized into a mind map, whimsical diagrams will actually do that. ChatGPT will do that heavy lifting for you to the extent that you can give it large data sets. And I'm hoping it's correct, give you outputs on data sets, whether you're doing analysis, whether you're doing visualizations, whether you're doing written analysis. Okay. And so whimsical diagrams is giving us a little mind map here. Yeah, it's pretty basic. As you can imagine, 2 columns, 17 bullet points, 1 topic. But for people who like visual learning or people who like to see it set up systematically, this might be a better way. And so the point, we'll actually copy this image, go over to Notion, and because so we've got a database here, and then let's just drop this flowchart in the bottom so I can show you how that's done. It's pretty nifty Notion. You can do a lot of things with it, and something we didn't even get in. At the bottom here, you'll say, it says press space for AI, and you can say, summarize whatever. But it is very similar to just using ChatGPT and copying and pasting. Similarly, down here at the bottom, if you use the backslash, Notion will give you options of how you want to template or organize your notes. So for example, \B brings up bulleted list. You can start writing. And let's say you want to change to a header. So now we're at header 1. We can say leadership. And back down here to bullets. We're here again. So Notion, great for note taking. Has my endorsement, has helped me a lot. Shout out to Curtis for showing it to me. I wish he were on this, and maybe he will be in the future to help go into some of the other cool automations that are possible. Keep in mind, I've just shown you one way to integrate ChatGPT and Notion. There are several different ways where you can connect the 2 services, whether that's through, APIs or automated software such as Make or If This and That. There are several ways to connect it. For now, honestly, the cost copying and pasting isn't too laborious, but it's something to consider if you are using the 2 a lot, what ways you could speed up your workflow and get them working better. For example, I won't go into it today, but there is a way to automate tasks. So when something gets updated in here, ChatGPT will go ahead and provide summaries for that information. So if I was manually creating this database and I added number 8, decent work and economic growth, that would trigger ChatGPT to provide a brief description in here. So those are things you can do with it. And depending on your workflow, you may set it up similarly or differently. But I would encourage, especially folks who do a lot of manual writing, copying, pasting, research, um, to lighten their load and let ChatGPT do the legwork where it is, I think, one, useful and productive, but also I guess ethically upright. And so you're not cutting corners where there might be some negligence or there might be some plagiarism. But for the most part, if you're using it to gather background, organize information, but not necessarily take place of your own thinking, I think it's great. And so we're going to have another video coming up shortly in a few days, I believe, maybe talking about a little more technology. But I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll catch you next time.